Okay, so you're tuning in because you want to get the real story, the deep understanding, without, wading through tons of technical stuff.
Exactly. That's what we do.
And today, we're diving into something that, honestly, feels a bit like science fiction becoming fact. The integration of aerospace and automotive mobility, IAAM for short.
Right. iAAM. It's basically where planes meet cars, but much more sophisticated than that sounds.
Yeah, definitely more sophisticated. I think aerospace engineering, super high standards, meeting the way cars are actually built and sold.
It's not just about making flying cars, though that's part of it. It's a fundamental rethink. How do we actually move around?
Exactly. We're talking about taking that incredible safety culture and the tech from aerospace,
Mhm.
the people who fly us safely across oceans,
Mhm.
and blending it with what the car industry does best, making things reliable, making them accessible.
And the goal, well, it's tackling the big frustrations, isn't it? Traffic
Mhm.
jams, pollution, just the nightmare of the daily commute sometimes.
Totally. The vision here is for transport that's seamless, greener, and, well, smarter.
Yeah, the sources even talk about maybe like a single app, an Uber for flying cars and your ride on the ground, all in one place.
Okay, that sounds pretty amazing. But let's get real. What's the actual tech making this IAM thing possible, not just a cool idea?
Right. Well, a huge piece is electrification. It's foundational,
Like in EVs.
exactly like in EVs.
Yeah.
The same battery breakthroughs powering electric cars, they're being adapted for these electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft,
EVs.
EVTOLs.
Okay.
But the challenge is different. With aircraft, the power-to-weight ratio is just critical. You
Yeah.
have to pack enormous energy into something incredibly light, much more than a car.
Right, because you have to get it off the ground.
Right.
So the electric car boom is literally paving the way for air taxis. That's wild.
It is a direct line.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, companies are putting serious money down.
Like who?
Oh, you've got major players, Joby Aviation, for instance. Hyundai's division, Supernal, they're heavily invested.
And they think this is coming soon.
The projections are pretty optimistic. Some aim for initial air taxi services maybe around 2028.
3028. Wow. And where would these things land?
They'd use dedicated spots called vertiports.
Vertiports. Okay. Like mini urban airports. Got it. And it's not just batteries, right? Autonomy is a big part of this too.
Oh, absolutely crucial. The tech behind self-driving cars, the AI, the sensors, LiDAR, radar, it's directly transferable in many ways.
So smart cars helping smart planes fly.
Sort of, yeah. But it's more a fusion. You take that AI, but you combine it with decades of aerospace know-how in navigation and safety systems, things that guide huge jets safely.
Ah, so it's automotive AI plus aerospace guidance systems. That makes sense. More robust.
Yeah, much more robust. And imagine this. Maybe the GPS in ground vehicles could actually talk to air traffic control systems.
Whoa.
Yeah, creating a really dynamic flow of traffic both on the ground and in the air. Coordinated.
That sounds incredibly complex to pull off. What about the vehicles themselves? What are they made of? Anything special?
Definitely. Advanced materials are key. Aerospace has always pushed the boundaries here with lightweight composites.
Like carbon fiber and stuff.
Exactly. Super strong, but incredibly light. You see it in Formula One, high-end sports gear. Now it's essential for EVTOLs and high-efficiency EVs.
Why? Just to save weight.
Primarily, yes. Less weight means you need less energy to move it, whether that's lifting off vertically or just driving down the road. Efficiency is everything.
Right. Makes sense. But aerospace stuff is usually super expensive. How does the automotive side help there?
Ah, that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
The car industry is brilliant at mass production.
Yeah, building millions of things.
Precisely. Taking complex machines and building them affordably, reliably, at huge scale. That expertise is vital if air taxis are ever going to be, something normal people can use, not just a luxury.
So it's aerospace tech meets automotive scale. That's the magic combo.
That's the core synergy they're aiming for. High-tech materials made affordable through mass production techniques.
Okay, got it. So these technologies are coming together. How does IAM fit into that bigger picture phrase we hear a lot, future mobility?
iAAM is really a cornerstone of that whole future mobility concept.
Which is basically everything connected, right?
Yeah, the vision is an ecosystem where all transport modes, cars, trains, bikes, scooters, and now, potentially, air taxis work together seamlessly. You switch between them easily.
And IAM provides that missing link, sort of, between ground and air.
Exactly. It bridges that gap within the urban and regional environment.
And the main result of that is what they call advanced air mobility, or AAM.
Correct. AAM is what IAM enables in practice. It's the actual flying part.
Like that example in the sources, skipping over LA traffic in an EV Paul.
That's the perfect picture of AM. bypassing the gridlock down below.
That would definitely change my commute. Is this actually happening anywhere, or is it still just like on drawing boards?
It's moving fast. There's a big showcase planned for the World Expo 2025 in Osaka.
Oh,
They're expecting something like 30,000 air taxi flights during the event. A real-world test at scale.
30,000 slides. Okay, that's serious.
And the market potential is huge.
Hmm.
Some analysts think AAM could grab a big chunk of the existing taxi market, maybe $500 billion worth, by 2030.
$500 billion just for air taxis? Wow.
It's a potentially massive disruption.
So if this takes off, literally, how do we actually use it? Is it separate apps for everything?
Well, that's where Mobility as a Service MaaS comes in.
MaaS, okay. Heard that one too.
iAAM is what really makes MaaS powerful for combined journeys. The idea is one app, one interface.
So you could book a self-driving car to take you to a vertiport, then book your air taxi flight all in the same place.
Exactly. Seamlessly. Like booking a connecting flight now, but for your everyday travel around a region.
That does sound convenient. What about the environment? Are these things...
Green, sustainability is definitely a major focus. The push for electric propulsion is key, zero emissions during flight. Plus, there's a lot of work going into sustainable aviation fuels, biofuels for potentially longer range applications or maybe hybrid systems. The market for those sustainable fuels is projected to be pretty big too, maybe $17 billion by 2030.
So faster, more convenient, and potentially greener sounds good, but what about the infrastructure? You can't just land these anywhere.
No, you definitely can't. That's where the smart city concept really intersects. You need the physical infrastructure.
The vertiports we mentioned?
Vertiports, yes. And charging stations, not just for the EV tools, but integrated with EV charging on the ground. Cities are actually planning this.
Really? Which ones?
Paris is looking at AMEBs, Melbourne too. They're actively designing how to integrate this.
Huh. And you need communication networks to manage all this.
Absolutely. Advanced networks like 5G are seen as vital. Coordinating all those movements, air and ground, requires massive, reliable data flow.
Okay, it paints a really compelling picture, but surely there are big challenges, right? This can't be easy.
Oh, definitely not easy. Huge hurdles. Safety is number one, especially for anything that flies.
Yeah, air travel has incredibly high safety standards.
Exactly. The aviation world aims for like a 1 in a billion chance of a catastrophic failure. Meeting that standard with totally new types of aircraft is a massive challenge. Certification is incredibly rigorous.
As it should be. Okay, what else?
Cost is a big one. Building all those vertiports, that's billions in infrastructure investment. Who pays? How does it get financed?
Right. And what about people living nearby? Are these things noisy?
That's a major public concern. Noise pollution from potentially thousands of EV tails flying over cities. Companies are working hard on making them quiet, but public acceptance is key.
Yeah, I can see that being an issue. Any other big ones?
Cybersecurity. Anytime you have complex, interconnected autonomous systems,
Someone's going to try and hack them.
it's a huge concern. Protecting these systems from interference or attack is critical.
So safety, cost, noise, cybersecurity. Quite a list. But despite that, there seems to be real momentum.
The investment levels tell the story, really. You've got over 200 companies working on eVTOLs.
200. Wow.
And in 2022, the sector pulled in over $3 billion in investment. That's serious backing.
Yeah, that's not pocket change. And it's not just startups, right? You mentioned Hyundai. But are other big names involved?
Oh yeah, established players are jumping in. Stellantis, the big automotive group, is involved. NVIDIA, the chip giant, is providing computing platforms.
NVIDIA. Interesting. So tech companies, too.
It shows the convergence. This isn't just aerospace or automotive anymore. It's tech, energy, infrastructure. It's all merging.
What kind of impact could this actually have on, the whole transport market?
Some forecasts are pretty bold. They suggest integrated air-ground mobility could effectively double the size of the transportation market in places like the US and Europe by around 2035.
Double the market. That's transformative.
It really is. And it's a global race, too. China, for example, is moving incredibly quickly in this area.
Okay, so fast forward a decade or so. What might a normal day look like if iAAM becomes common?
Well, you might, say, take an air taxi for your commute to skip the worst traffic.
Right.
While maybe your own personal EV drives itself off to charge during the day when electricity is cheapest, or parks itself. More efficient use of vehicles.
Huh. The car doing its own thing while I'm at work or flying somewhere. That's a trip. Are there places we can actually see this tech developing soon?
Yeah, keep an eye on industry shows. IAA Mobility 2025 in Munich, Right. Japan Drone 2025 events like those are where you'll see the latest prototypes and systems unveiled.
So the tech is moving, the money's flowing. What's the final piece needed for this to really happen for all of us?
Ultimately, two big things, I think. Public acceptance is one. People need to trust it, feel safe, and actually want to use it. It can't just be technically possible. It has to be desirable.
Right. Kind of.
Regulation.
Yeah.
But specifically, cross-industry cooperation. Aviation regulators and automotive regulators need to work together, create standards that mesh, that allow this seamless integration. That's complex bureaucratic work, but essential.
So it really boils down to more than just cool new vehicles. iAAM is this fundamental shift, isn't it? Taking aerospace safety and automotive speed and scale.
And blending them
Yeah.
to create something new, a
Yeah.
transport system that aims to be faster, smarter, and hopefully more sustainable.
It really makes you think about how industries we see as totally separate might converge in the future.
Exactly. What other unexpected combinations out there could lead to the next big leap? That's maybe the thought to ponder. Where else could this kind of cross-pollination happen?
You ever notice how, well, sometimes the future feels like it's being built in completely separate boxes?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening with cars seems totally disconnected from all the buzz around flying vehicles.
Completely. They feel like different worlds.
Well, get ready for those worlds to collide.
That's right. We're doing a deep dive today into this really fascinating intersection of aerospace and automotive mobility. It's being called iAAM.
iAAM, got it. And yeah, to really get our heads around this whole potentially game-changing landscape, we've been digging into the very first episode of a show called PUNCH Line.
Ah?
Yeah, it's titled Meet AAPAH, and it basically lays out the vision of this platform, Airdrops PNCH.
Right. So for you, the learner, our mission here is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
We want to pull out the core idea, the essence of iAAM as Airdrops PNCH, and it's AI PNCH. See it.
Think of it as your crash course, maybe. Your fast track to understanding what could be a really fundamental shift in how we all get around, maybe sooner than we think.
Definitely. And, central to this whole thing is AI PNCH.
Yeah, the key player. And it's interesting because, well, this isn't your usual tech CEO figurehead, right?
Not at all.
It's an AI, an artificial intelligence system that's actually the driving force behind Airdrops PNCH, which is pretty novel right off the bat.
It really is. It signals a very forward-thinking approach, I'd say. And what jumps out immediately from that PNCH line episode is that Airdrops PNCH, they don't just see themselves as creating a new way to travel.
Oh, no.
No, they frame it as being almost like a movement dedicated to connecting the automotive and aerospace industries, making them work together more closely.
A movement. Huh, that's interesting framing. So it's more than just designing, cool new flying cars or something.
Exactly. It's about actively building connections, forging links between the everyday car tech we already have and all these cutting-edge aerospace developments.
They actually talk about building a bridge between these worlds, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's not just a metaphor either.
Right.
Their vision is pretty concrete. They talk about a future where, say, your electric car on the road and some kind of on-demand flying taxi, they operate in sync, coordinated.
So it's not just the vehicles in isolation.
No, it's the whole interconnected system that makes it work.
Yeah, they mentioned specifics like intelligent repair networks.
Right. Imagine AI figuring out that your EV, or maybe that flying taxi, needs a checkup almost before anything actually goes wrong.
Proactive maintenance, essentially.
Exactly. And then there's the AI-powered logistics side of it, which sounds like, optimizing how everything moves, parts, people, doing it really smartly. It's a very integrated view.
It really is.
And they stress that they're actively building both the digital side, the software, the platforms, and the physical infrastructure needed for this integrated future. It's happening on both fronts at once.
Okay. So we've got this movement, this bridge being built. Let's drill down into the core concept itself. iAAM, integration of aerospace and automotive mobility. It's a bit of a mouthful.
It is, yeah.
But what's the fundamental idea? According to AAAM, what is iAAM?
Well, fundamentally, iAAM is about shifting how we think about transport. Instead of seeing cars, planes, trains, even boats as totally separate things.
Right, operating in their own lanes, so to speak.
Exactly. It's about seeing them as connected parts of one bigger unified system.
So it's more than just like having flying cars and regular cars sharing the same city. It's about them actually, working together seamlessly.
That's the idea. The Pelling CH line episode really highlights that IAM depends on intelligence systems probably driven by AI, like AI, PUNCH, and sustainable energy,
Uh-huh.
to kind of orchestrate this whole integration. And crucially, it's seen as a partnership, a collaboration between AI and, well, us humans.
That makes sense. You'd still need people for those, complex real-world judgment calls an AI might struggle with.
Absolutely. And it's important to stress, Airdrops PUNCH makes this point too. IAM isn't about replacing everything we have now.
Right. It's not like cars are just going away.
No. It's not saying goodbye to your car or traditional flights. It's about making all these different ways of moving work together better,
Yeah.
complementing each other,
Yeah.
creating a more efficient and adaptable transport network overall.
Okay, so this interconnected future, it sounds great, but I can almost hear some listeners thinking, okay, that sounds like, Blade Runner stuff for giant futuristic cities. What about the rest of us?
That's a really fair question. And it seems like Airdrops PUNCH is definitely thinking about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they specifically say this vision isn't just for the megataxis. They argue that the ideas, the benefits of integrating aerospace and automotive, they have relevance, potential impact, well beyond just the huge urban centers.
Okay, how? Like, who do they see getting involved, benefiting from this, apart from the usual tech bros and city planners?
Well, they actually paint a pretty wide picture. Think about the technicians already working on EVs, right? There's more and more of them. They're kind of on the ground floor of this shift.
Yeah.
Then you've got pilots involved in early stage urban air mobility stuff, which is popping up in different places, not just the biggest cities. And then just, everyday commuters.
How would commuters benefit?
Well, the idea is their journeys could become smoother, maybe less congested, if you have a more integrated multimodal system working properly.
Right, so it touches the pros actually building this stuff and also the people who will eventually use it.
Exactly. They also bring up business owners, needing to adapt their logistics to use these new options, and even hobbyists, people flying drones.
Huh, okay.
The core message seems to be that this iAAM ecosystem is meant to be pretty wide-ranging, inclusive.
And it sounds like Airdrops PNCH isn't just like hoping everyone connects magically.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
They say they're actively investing in developing tools, training programs, digital platforms, all designed to help more people participate.
To bring more people in.
Yeah, they seem to operate on this core belief that inclusion fuels innovation.
I like that.
The idea is, if you bring in lots of different viewpoints, different skills, you actually speed up progress and make the whole mobility field richer.
That makes a lot of sense. If it's just a small group thinking about it, you're bound to miss things, right? Potential uses, problems.
Precisely. By fostering the sense of, shared ownership and shared opportunity, they think they can drive real widespread progress in integrated mobility.
So, okay, we've talked about the big vision, the integration, the inclusion. What about the PUNCH Line podcast itself? Why start a show about this? What's its goal?
Well, the podcast, based on this first episode anyway, seems positioned as a kind of window into this future of mobility.
Yeah, a way to explore it.
Exactly. Its purpose is to dig into the key ideas and, importantly, connect with the actual people who are making IAM happen.
And they mentioned wanting to talk to lots of different types of people, didn't they?
Yes, absolutely. The plan seems to be to have conversations with a really diverse mix. The AI architects designing the control system, the engineers building the vehicles, the infrastructure, the designers thinking about the user experience, and maybe most importantly, the people on the front lines.
Ooh.
Like the folks in the maintenance shops keeping things running,
Yeah.
or the pilots actually flying these new aircraft.
So it's not just high-level abstract talk. They want to get into the nitty-gritty, the practical side.
That seems to be the goal. The
Yeah.
podcast promises, insightful discussions, maybe some behind-the-scenes stuff, definitely forward-thinking ideas, but also honest talk.
Honest talk.
Yeah, about the challenges, the opportunities, what's really involved in moving towards this integrated transport future, bridging that gap between the big vision and actually making it work day to day.
Okay, right. Let's pull back a bit then. After digging into this first PUNCH Line episode, the whole Airdrops PUNCH vision, what's the main thing that sticks with you? The core message?
For me, it's really that ambitious, but actually quite compelling vision of IAAM. This seamless integration of air and ground mobility, seeing that as the path to a more unified, efficient, and intelligent transport system overall.
Yeah.
And Airdrops PUNCH with its AI PNCH is basically saying, we want to be a key player in making this happen.
Absolutely. It is a bold idea. And it definitely makes you wonder, how might our cities change? How could our daily commutes look different? What kind of new jobs or skills might pop up as this integration actually happens?
And that really brings it back to you, the learner. Just take a second to think about what this kind of integrated mobility might mean for you, your life, your job, your interests. How could a more connected transport system affect your day-to-day, your future plans?
Yeah, good question. And maybe here's one final thought to chew on, something provocative. Based on these initial ideas from AirDrops PUNCH and AI PUNCH, which existing ways of getting around do you think will be changed the most? Which ones will be most transformed as aerospace and automotive blend together more in the coming years? It's not just about, will we have flying cars? Think bigger. Think about the ripple effects across the whole transportation
Yeah.
network. What gets disrupted? What gets enhanced?